I equate my pieces to writing in a diary. When I've finished that page, I turn it and I write a new one and I write like another one. And I'll archive all those pieces and I keep them. But most of them sell. And I love looking back on my old work and think, wow, like, this is where I was 3 years ago. Look at where I am now. It just evolves all the time.
And I think just being a creative person, your outlet doesn't necessarily always have to be one thing. Like, I love fashion, I love art, I love interior design, I love so many artistic endeavors that, doing a podcast, I mean, that's sort of a moment for me where I was just like, okay, I need another creative outlet. What can I do? Okay, a podcast moment and talking to other creatives and talking about their journeys and all this amazing talent that's out there and talking to them, because it's like we have these conversations when we're chatting on the phone or when I come into the gallery or whatever it is. We have these conversations that nobody necessarily always hears. So I think this is so good that people are now going to hear these like intimate conversations that I have with the people that I really admire. This is where creativity gets lit. I'm talking bold pivots, design funks, and those tiny rituals that keep us grounded. I'm interior designer and creative director Aly Velji, and on AVD Inspire, I sit down with artists, makers, and icons for the real conversations behind the work. My friend Murray Duncan made one of the most beautiful and courageous career pivots I've ever witnessed. He closed his beloved design store Hardware after 15 years to follow his heart in contemporary art. I love a good full circle moment. So our connection goes back over 20 years, which is so insane to even say. When I was just this eager kid on HGTV's Superstar Challenge, we had to merchandise Hardware's window display. So that was the shop that he owned, and we literally had to redo that window display for one of the challenges. And honestly, I felt head over heels over everything that was in that shop. And I also won that challenge, which was great. Then, years later, on the style department, we got to redesign a space in Murray's actual house. So talk about a full circle moment right there. Today, Murray is a celebrated, self-taught artist whose paintings grace the pages of Architectural Digest, House and Home, and the Globe and Mail, plus many, many more. His paintings just hit a little differently. And he's become what he calls the exclamation point at the end of every designer, which I think is brilliant. I'm so honored to use his art in my projects and call him a friend. So I am honored to welcome Murray Duncan to AVD Inspire. Welcome, friend.
Thank you so much. What a nice introduction.
So the people that actually are not watching this podcast, Murray Duncan has come through in his full Stampede gear. He's wearing a black cowboy hat and looks awesome. So thank you for representing.
I love to paint outside when it's really nice. I'll paint outside in a t-shirt or a tank top, but I'm always wearing like a hat to shade. So I have quite a
I love it. Well,
I do love them.
You're giving cowboy vibes and I love it. Your journey as being a shop owner and at Hardware and doing the things that you did there, and now what you do as a contemporary artist, like, how's the change been for you, and why did you decide to change?
I never really had a plan to do it. It was never really a plan. I had my store for so long and I loved it so much. I said to you before, like, this was before Instagram and social media and all of those wonderful things we have now. But I mean, when I had the store, I met all the designers and all the assistants, the PAs and all the OGs from HGTV. And I made all of those fantastic connections with the editors, and the magazines were so supportive back then, and they really were great. And so I just started painting for myself personally as a hobby, just in the basement of the store. And then I started bringing the paintings upstairs, and I'll never forget the first day somebody walked in. It was just like, I made this huge painting. It's just really big, kind of self-indulgent. And it was very graffiti and expressive and wild. And someone came in and said, I want to buy it. And I remember my jaw just dropped. And she was like, how much is it? And I was like, and I gave her, she was like, I'll take it. But I gave her this really high price because I just didn't know. And she bought it. And actually that piece ended up being in House and Home magazine. and then the client
Right.
purchased it. So it was kind of that weird beginning to me painting. And
Mm-hmm.
it just kind of went from there. I never really had a plan.
Yeah.
I just loved painting and I just started doing it and became more and more comfortable for me and more, it just felt right to me and felt good to me. So I just really followed
Yeah.
my course.
And it's not like you were doing something that you weren't happy doing. This was just a different area of love that you were following, right? Which I think is also brilliant because it's not like you were unhappy or tired of this retail moment. You just left at a point where you were just like, okay, this has been a good run and left on a high note almost, which I think is brilliant. That's like the perfect time to leave on a high note so that you don't feel angry or any sort of bad feelings towards what you're doing. So I think
Yeah.
that's lovely. I just want to go back to what you said earlier too. It's like when you had hardware and all of this stuff was happening and there was no social media, there was no Instagram, there was no Pinterest, there was nothing like that to get your word out there. And the only way to do that is through getting people in your shop. So how do you find that moment and to what you do now as an artist and putting your stuff out there on social media? Like what's that difference and what do you wish? Is there a positive to one over the other?
I connect a lot with people's energy and I
Mm-hmm.
think it happened very organically. Social media definitely is a huge asset. It does work and you do need to be visible and all those kinds of things. But I
Totally.
focus more on my relationships with the designers
Mm-hmm.
and editors and things like that. And that's really what works for me. A lot of artists come in through galleries and through that avenue. And I kind of came in
Mm-hmm.
completely different avenue,
Right.
but that works for me because I really connect with designers because I've done that job.
Okay, it's time for a design real talk moment. I've been using Divine Flooring since literally the start of my career, and they have been huge champions of mine. This beautiful Calgary-based family-run company creates gorgeous hardwood flooring that is literally unmatched. For my own home, I chose the Cosmopolitan Naked in the chevron pattern. That nod to traditional craftsmanship really spoke to my soul. Now, if only floors could talk. And I love that because it's not like everybody has to follow the same recipe. And I think that that's such an amazing lesson for our listeners too, is because you look at other people's trajectory and it could be the same thing the way that they've done it. They went to art school and then they did this and then they had to enter through a gallery moment or whatever it is. And it's like nobody has to follow the same path as everybody else. You can make your own. And I feel like those connections are very important. And it's like for
Yes.
anybody that's new out there and looking to get out there, it's like make those connections because you never know where you're going to end up and where you may need them again.
I am in
Totally.
galleries and I do have galleries and all of those other things, but my connection to the design community for
Mm-hmm.
me has been great. I mean, I was just privileged to kind of come into it through that direction. I look at your work and where you've come from. When I met you when you were like really young and like you're doing what you love. You're doing what you love. It's not really a job.
Mm-hmm.
It is a job, but it's not a job. But you're following your passion, you're following your heart, you're working with people that you want to work with and doing things that
Mm-hmm.
you want to do, projects that excite you. I mean, that's just loving design. And I've always loved
Absolutely.
art, design, and I just who I am, right? I mean, you
Yeah.
understand as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think just being a creative person, your outlet doesn't necessarily always have to be one thing. You know, like I love fashion, I love art, I love interior design, I love so many artistic sort of endeavors that doing a podcast, I mean, that's a moment for me where I was just like, okay, I need another creative outlet. What can I do? And it's just like, okay, a podcast moment and talking to other creatives and talking about their journeys and all this amazing talent that's out there and talking to them because it's like we have these conversations when we're chatting on the phone or when I come into the gallery or whatever it is. We have these conversations that nobody necessarily always hears. So I think this is so good that people are now going to hear these like intimate conversations that I have with the people that I really admire.
Not everyone goes through that same process. I mean, you started out as a PA in television. Cheryl started out doing various shows at HGTV. I mean, that was her kind of path. I mean, and we were the OGs. We were the
Totally.
actors back then. But you're right.
Correct.
Everyone has a different path. I mean, even before I had my store, I was designing jewelry. And I did that
Mm.
for
Mm.
8 years. I was in jewelry design, doing that kind of
That's
things,
brilliant.
you know?
Yeah. And you mentioned Cheryl. And for those that don't know who Cheryl is our incredible friend, but also the one that's launched this podcast for me and has been the backbone to this podcast and helped me produce it all. So she's behind the scenes. We can see her right now, but she's absolutely gorgeous and amazing and such an incredible human being. I have to give a shout out to her. Are you just like, okay, today I'm going to paint, or what is that inspiration that gets you and the work that you do right now?
Good question. I mean, I look at my work as almost like a diary. The way that
Okay.
you would have thoughts, or you would journal, or you would write something down in a diary. My work is really a personal diary of whatever's happening that day, that season, that month. It could be right after this conversation, I could be like, oh, do something in red because you're wearing this like really cool red shirt and you've got that red patch. Or it really just kind of happens organically. I never really think
Mm,
about it. I just let the canvas and the work speak. So,
right.
and there are pages to my diary, and I just open the book and let people read everything. But I hope my work is really genuine and honest. But I come from a very
Hmm.
emotional, personal place for me. So I just kind of let
Hmm.
that authentic and let that come out.
For me, honestly, when I look at your work, I think it's organic. And I feel like that word doesn't necessarily have to be so literal. The organic moment for me is the color palette, and that it works on so many different levels. It works in a modern setting, it works in a traditional setting, depending on how you frame it.
Wow.
And we've done all those different things. Every time I use your pieces, it's like we have them framed in burlwood, or we have them matted with like a green linen frame, and they just work on so many different levels. And I think that's why it's your artwork is so relatable to me anyway.
You've gotten a few pieces of work for me, like quite a few now. But every time you frame it, I mean, I just roll them up and set them into two. But every time I see it in one of your projects, I'm like, wow, I never would have thought of that. I never would have thought of that matte color. I never would have thought of that frame. But when you see it all together in the space, it's like, wow,
Hmm.
that just
Right.
landed in the perfect project for the perfect client, perfect frame, beside the perfect chair and the well, like everything just flow. But I would never think of putting it together that way. So I love watching what you do with my artwork. And even other designers, they'll take a piece and they'll
Totally.
frame it or put it in a place I would never imagine, like in a really traditional room. And then you've got this really modern piece of art. I never would have thought of combining those things, but it looks so fantastic. It's such a flattering moment to see my work in projects that when I work with designers. It's like, wow, I found a
Well,
home.
it also helps when you're working with an incredible artist that is so kind, and it's like an easy back and forth, and I feel like it's also creating this community where we just want to help each other. Now that you're sort of in this like art industry, do you have any industry tea? Like, it's you think about the art world and sometimes it's a little hoity-toity or whatever it is there one thing about the art world that you would say that like people would be shocked to hear?
I don't know if I can answer that question. I mean, I think personally for me, I'm so removed from that world. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
my little bubble in my studio, and I literally go from my house to my studio and work every day. And it's very insular for me.
Yeah.
I try to keep my world small for myself. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like I even
Yes, absolutely.
have a list of designers that when I have new work, you know this, like I have a short list and I'll send it out like to you,
Yeah.
like Elizabeth met,
Hmm.
just to certain people that I'm like, okay, you know what? This is my short list of people that I'd love to work with. So I always send it out first to those people before I even put it on my
Hmm.
website or make it available to anybody. Like I like keeping my
Yeah.
world small.
If there are budding artists out there or people that are dabbling in art, or is there advice that you would give them to get out there, branch out?
I would say don't put any expectations on it. Just
Mm,
do what you love to do. And you can make 10 paintings and hate them all, make 10 more, and just
hmm.
really don't look around at what everyone else is doing. Be authentic to
Yeah.
yourself, follow your own heart, follow your own vision, your own feeling,
Hmm.
your own. It's like even for you, Ali, like you can't copy someone else's style. I mean, you have your own
Right.
style is
Yes.
intrinsic and unique to you. Get emotional with the
Hmm.
knowledge that you're actually creating the piece, but then let it go.
Yes,
Let it go.
absolutely.
I equate my pieces to writing in a diary. When I've finished that page, I turn it and I write a new one and I write another one. And I'll archive all those pieces and I keep them, but most of them sell. And I love looking back on my old work and think, wow, like, this is where I was 3 years ago. Look at where I am now. Yeah, it evolves all the time. And it's like you with a designer. I mean, the evolution of like color and wallpaper prints and
Oh, girl.
furniture, like it
I
evolves.
Yeah, I look at some of my early work, even when I was on Superstar Challenge and the stuff that I did, I'm like, you like almost cringe, right? Like that's when like dark gray and red accents and like that willow from IKEA was in and everybody was using it. I'm just like, oh my God. But it's true. It's really nice to look back and be able to know where you came from and where you're at now. I think that's amazing. Murray's pieces are so organic and relatable that it has me thinking about Divine Flooring. Why, you ask? Well, because it's literally art for your floors. They've been making spaces divine since 1999, with their beautiful commitment to superior products and genuine experiences. Family-owned, Calgary roots, and with showrooms across North America, they really know that the transformation starts from the ground up. Head over to divinefloor.com to get inspired. I know that you have a new studio that you're in right now, and you're doing a collaboration with Arcade Home right now. So tell me what's up and coming. Tell me what's next for you. Tell me what we should be excited about.
Well, we just kind of put this together last minute. It was a conversation that we had for probably a year, but
Mm-hmm.
collab here has worked out really well because I mean, really for me, it was just wall space and there was nothing on the floor
Mm-hmm.
except for
Mm-hmm.
paintbrushes and a couple of chairs, people like that, one stand lover and an easel. But this really fills the space out. And now when my clients come here, they can see what pieces look like in the context of a home and
Mm.
setting and how they would potentially look in your house. So this is like just a really nice kind of collaboration that we have together. So it's great.
I love that. I love that. How important do you think collaboration is
Oh,
in the creative world?
I think collaboration is fantastic and you should do it whenever you get the opportunity. I think
Correct.
creatively it pushes you past your limitations. It's a really good
Mm-hmm.
teacher. And to learn how to work with other people, I think is invaluable and you need it. So it's good to let
Yeah.
go of control.
I think collaboration too just allows you to learn something different and to work out kinks or whatever it is, or just get a new thought process from somebody else that you may not have thought of. And I think it's amazing. And for me, collaborations are where it's at. You have to collaborate and work together and create these moments and bring people in that are just going to uplift the whole project. And I think that's the way that everybody should work out their everyday life. It's just through collaborations.
I think the great thing for me about any collaboration that I've done so many amazing collaborations. You just really arrive at a place that you never thought you'd go to. When I think that for any
Hmm.
person is really inspiring. It's exciting. You kind of push yourself
Yes.
past your goalpost every time. And just you can set your goalpost a little further and have less fear.
Possibilities are endless. Possibilities are endless, that's for sure. Now, one last question before we leave you. I have a daily ritual many times a day, actually, is where I always light a candle anytime I walk into a space. So if I walk into my office, I'll light a candle. If I'm doing a podcast, I'm always lighting a candle. That scent and just that act of lighting a candle does something to me. It grounds me. Do you have something that you do as a ritual to help ground you?
When I wake up in the morning, I
Mm-hmm.
don't, I give myself an hour. I learned this from Oprah to not look at my phone, not look at
Mm-hmm.
email, not turn on the TV or look at the news or start to stare at the noise of the world. I give myself at least
Mm-hmm.
an hour to an hour and a half to be quiet and have my coffee and sit outside. And it's like a bit of meditation, I would say, for me. I just really like that quiet time, in the morning. I really, really value that just to kind of reset my mind when I wake up, because I'm not a morning person.
You know what? That's brilliant. And I think I'm gonna do that. I'm not sure I can give myself an hour every morning, but maybe I'll start with 20 minutes
Start with
and then and then build my way up to an hour. But I think that's brilliant because it's like, I think so many people literally the moment they wake up, they look at their phone and it's like they start the day as soon as that happens. The alarm goes off, they look at their phone, and then they're like off to their tech world or whatever it is.
I think I'm gonna pour your little ritual. I love that, lighting candles.
Thank you, Murray, so much for taking the time to chat with me today. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait to see where your journey takes you. Look at all your beautiful art, and I hope to see you in Toronto soon.
Aly, thank you so much for having me. I have loved being on the podcast. I'm so glad I was chosen to be on the podcast, and I'm very honored. So thank you so much.
Yay! We did it! We did it! Okay, everyone, that was Murray Duncan. Wow. That is literally proof in the pudding that sometimes you have to close a beautiful chapter in order to open up another magical one, right? That was so good. You can follow Murray at murrayduncanstudio.com. You can look at all of his amazing artwork on his website. It's gorge. Thank you so much, Divine Flooring, for sponsoring this incredible episode. You can find out everything from Divine Flooring at Divine Flooring on Instagram or divinefloor.com. And as always, thank you for watching, for listening, and please subscribe, please like, and share this with anyone that you think needs a little inspiration in their life, because we all need a little uplift sometimes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Until next time, I love ya.